Hey guys, so we're going to be doing something a wee bit different today. Yep, we're on a different board. It's not Biz this time. And I kind of want to do stuff like this. I do want to expand to other boards that I actually do browse.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy history. And there's one way to anger people more is talk about history and then get the fucking facts wrong, which put my name right on it. So I guarantee that this video will anger people, but I do feel like a lot of people that are interested in D&D and tabletop games and 40K are also into history. And you know, like I just want to do something a bit different.
Yeah.
So let's jump into this one, will we?
If you could reverse the outcome of one war, which would it be and why? US Revolutionary War. Imagine the Victoria era, except with the US as a British colony.
If there's one way to make the Americans agree in the comments, I could not think. Honestly, I do think it would be really cool to see. However, if that was the case, would America... It
would just lead to a war later on down the line, though.
I think it probably would, but would America be much more like Australia and New Zealand, politically speaking, socially speaking? Would it have much more, like, I do think Americans and, like, you know, the rest of the Western Anglo countries, they are very similar.
Yeah.
But I do think America's the only one that, well, no, actually, let's be serious. I would say it would probably be more like Canada, socially and whatnot. But I do think there would just be another war down the road.
Yeah, 100%.
Eventually,
I think it's just prolonging the inevitable, really.
Yeah, I think a war of independence was a matter of time, not a matter of what if.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that the British could have held on to the territory.
No,
it's too big. It's too big. It's too far away at that time period. I just don't see it. And also, it wasn't seen as valuable as what it is today.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense? I can already hear the Americans going, they're going to burn my house down. I can already hear the 1776.
World War One, because I'm German.
Well, you know, I actually do agree with that. For me, right, okay, I know it's kind of controversial, but for me, I believe it would have been better off if the British Empire had just stayed out of that war. Now, if the Germans had won, the Russians were going in no matter what, and I feel like France was going to join in no matter what, but I feel like if Britain didn't join in, then America wouldn't have joined in, and I feel like it would have cascaded as much.
Do you not think it would have been better to prevent World War One?
No, World War One, I think, was a powder keg, and it was just waiting to happen. I think we had went too long without a great European war that it was inevitable.
It just needed Franz Ferdinand.
But I feel like it would have been much better off if the Germans had just won it, and it would have kept it more.
Britain really shouldn't have got involved in it.
I feel like it was just honestly. I think World War One is the most brutal of all wars. 100%. A lot of people say, but World War Two, so many more people died. Yeah, but World War One is way more brutal on a psychiatric level.
Yeah.
The fortitude, the amount of endurance, and it's constant grinding. It's not a nice war.
Imagine the trenches. Just imagine them.
Disgusting. I could not think of anything worse. And now, I do think the Germans did send over Lenin and whatnot to infiltrate the Russians with communism stuff, but I do think there's a much better chance of the White Army winning in this scenario, if that makes any sense. So I don't see a rise of communism, I don't see a rise of fascism, I don't see that war of ideologies throughout the 20th century.
Yeah.
But would that just have meant that, okay, Germany had then won another great war, so they have? Are they going to then Are they going to then pick up another fight?
Yeah.
You know, this is a problem. It's just a cascade of events, and there's no good way of saying, oh, this would have definitely happened.
Yeah, like, would they, because they won, do you think they would have just had that?
I think they would have continued gobbling up territory.
They had that inch of power, and they think, well, what else can we take?
We're now the greatest land power of Europe, no longer the Frenches. What can we do next?
Do you think they would have just kept going?
Yeah,
and going?
But
then again, then Britain and America would have got involved again.
Yeah, well, I don't know if America would have got. I don't know. It's hard to say if America would have got. What do you guys think? This is it's an interesting topic. I do love the idea of it, and World War One is something that I could talk about all day.
Yeah, so, I do think regardless, even if Germany won, it still would have led to World War Two. Probably not the consequences of World War Two as we know it.
It would have been a very different war.
Very different.
It would have been a very different war.
But it still would have led to another World War Two, because I do think Germany would have got power hungry.
But would it have been a world war though, without the British Empire? Like, you know, okay, the French still has an empire, but would we have been seeing fighting all over the world? Would the Japanese have got involved? Well, yeah, the Japanese would have got involved because they wanted.
Britain definitely would have got involved.
Yeah, see, this is what I come.
Britain can't keep their noses out of other people's shit. Same with Americans, to be honest.
Well, Americans only got this after they got a but that's the thing, that would have come with Woodrow Wilson's ideas. It would have been completely different, and American foreign policy would have been completely different. It's so much up in the air. I think it's fascinating. What do you guys think? Because let's move on.
The sack of Constantinople. It'd be amazing if Byzantine Empire was still around.
It wouldn't be still around. I feel like it was a dying empire.
Yeah, it would have been lost before that.
It would have died out.
It would have held on for...
If it wasn't destroyed then, it would have been destroyed 10, 15
years, not long down the road.
I just can't see it surviving. It's one of those ones that's very fascinating though, because I suppose it leads into the Ottomans, because they tried to rebrand themselves.
Much about it.
But the big thing for me is, so with the Ottomans, you know, they get dismembered in World War One essentially. Imagine if they were able to hold on for that extra 5-10 years and then they find all that fucking oil. That would have reinvigorated that entire empire. And I think we wouldn't have all these wars in the Middle East. Well, we probably would.
Probably would.
But I suppose the Ottomans would have been more than willing to, let's not talk about Armenian genocides or anything like that. Let's just keep going.
Move on. Either of the first two Punic Wars would be interesting to see how the entire history of the West would change. Conquest of Mecca might also be an interesting one.
For me, now, I do feel like the Second Punic War really does show you where Rome was going. Now, before the Punic Wars, Rome, to me, is more of it's a power within its legion, but it's not like a wool. It doesn't have that superpower status, if that makes any weird sense. I feel like with the Second Punic War, the thing is, if you had any of them battles in Rome, or if you had them in Greece, any of the Greek city-states would be begging for peace. They would not have put up that fight. They would have, the second Hannibal shows up at the gates, it's like, right, okay, you know what, we'll give you your money, you can have whatever you want,
let's sit down and talk about this, lads.
let's have a bit of peace treaty. But the Romans didn't, and I think that's what really set them apart from every other contemporary nation at that time, and that's where I find the Romans to be godly almost. It's almost a manifest destiny where they were just too good or just too strong or too powerful that they couldn't be contained. Of course, I'm a massive Roman fanboy, so if you haven't realised that by now, and honestly, Carthage can go fuck itself. It only had a couple of good generals. It was a very good economic powerhouse, Venetian, all that jazz. But no, Romans all day, every day.
One thing you don't want to do is, if you guys ever meet James drunk in the street, don't mention the Roman Empire. I have made that mistake.
What's that thing? It's like, guys will do everything they can to learn about Roman history, and instead of going to therapy.
Yes, basically. Or you hit 30 and you're either really into history, i.e. Roman Empire, barbecuing, or cars.
Fact, though. Pure fact. I'm not even 30 and I've already got that down.
Psst. Hey, lean in closer. This is fucking ASMR channel now. You know it's pretty fucking based. Titties. Go see titties. Lots of titties.
All the titties.
Go over to the website, check out all the models. You guys know the score. We have some really nice looking models over there. And we have a lot of...
sci-fi gothic?
Yeah.
Let's call them sci-fi gothic.
And if models isn't your shit, we have loads of subclasses and we keep adding them every other week or so. We add a lot.
We got a lot.
Look, we've got big brains. We add shit. But yes, go over to the website, check out everything. If you haven't subscribed, what the fuck you doing? Hit subscribe, hit the notification bell as well, and let's get back to the video. Spanish Civil War. Either a Kino international anarchist revolution starts, or Republicans become a backdoor for the USSR.
Honestly, I do feel like Spain is just completely fucking forgotten about.
Yep, it is though.
Throughout most of the 20th century, even though they were a fascist dictatorship for most of it. I think it was only in the 70s.
Yeah.
But it's amazing to think, like, what could have been. I always love this, like, what if style of history, though. But I don't see an anarchist, the idea of an anarchist government. Anarchist and government don't go hand. They just don't work.
Yeah.
So the problem I've got with an anarchist government, if it were to be an anarchist government, is people would just like roll in, like, because you kind of need a strong government to
hold back,
to have an army. You can't just do that with essentially armed riots.
Yeah.
It doesn't look
like
work. It's a weird concept, and it's a weird one, and it's a shame that we've never. Because I always love, like, you know, can we do it with rats? Can we get like a weird experiment going? It's like, you know, there's no like test subject where you can be like, that's what happens whenever X happens. Like, you know, we've got that with communist takeovers or fascist takeovers or any of them ones. We can be like, okay, we can judge. Normally it goes one or two ways.
Yeah.
We don't have the metric.
Yeah.
Would that be a fair way to put it?
Yeah. 9 Years' War. Ireland. Because a British defeat and ensuing loss of control over the island would have been the best chance for my nationalist fantasy of an independent Gaelic Ireland to become a reality.
See, I just don't, like, okay, look, we live in Northern Ireland.
And all Ireland will never happen. I'm telling you now. It'll never, ever, no.
Like, people still have incredibly strong views about it to this day. It's a messy subject to get into.
Yeah.
Frankly, if you're living here, don't talk about it.
Do not, and never,
don't bring
ever
it up.
visit Ireland and be like, so what about the Brits?
Oh,
don't.
Yeah, it's pretty cringe, not gonna lie. But for me, I find the problem I have with Ireland is it never was able to unify. It never unified its tribes. It was never able to.
There was always some reason.
There was always some reason to fuck over the other tribes person and be like, okay, let's work with the English for whatever reason. And it just always looks like a shit show, no matter what. And I feel like this is one of those ones where if you look at, let's look at Caesar in Gaul, with your man who was able to unite the tribes, and he did a really good job at uniting the tribes up against Caesar, but he's fighting the Roman fucking Empire, so they got curb stomped. Same with Geronimo uniting the Native American tribes to fight the American army, and I think they did an amazing job, but they didn't. Their technology was just so beyond. It wasn't. They just got curb stomped. But we were never able to see anything even close to that.
Ireland was never able to hold their own.
And every, like, what 50, 60 years,
something.
There's always some from a new rebellion, new anger,
rebellion's been going on here for years, and still haven't been able to take anything back.
It's,
you know, for them having the bigger half of the country.
Yeah, and you know, this is one of the ones that I know I'm going to get a lot of hate with. And this is very hyper controversial, but my view on the whole, like, Ireland stuff is, so if you look at Michael Collins, I consider him a very excellent example of, if you were an American, you could recognize him as a George Washington type. And, you know, that's a very esteemed title to have, like, you know, someone you could relate to, because he was really the man that, like, he did create a united, the people. Not a united Ireland, but he did have a republic. Yeah. And then what happened, because the part of the Ireland that, for the most part, the people that lived there did not want to be a part of, what then happened to him, his own people killed him. His own people. Which I think's fucking... I'm not going to get into that, but the idea... Could you imagine that the American Patriots killing their George Washington because they couldn't get a bit of Nova Scotia? Yeah. That's the way I see it. And I know there's going to be a lot of anger and hatred in the comments over that one, but I don't know, like, that's the way I view it, and I live here, so I feel like I can... And James can say this because he's... Oh, and also, I'm Catholic as well. He's Catholic, and most of his family is from Dublin itself. So he can say this. I'm literally Catholic. I'm not Protestant being like, oh, stupid Teagues, stupid this, stupid that, you know... I am literally Catholic, so
I am woman.
Yeah.
I'm just generally here for a laugh.
Yeah, let's keep going, will we?
The Cold War.
Now, this one would be I would love this. Now, this one would be interesting. So
it'd be just interesting to sit back and watch. To see
we wouldn't be able to sit back and watch.
I know. We'd all be fucking fine.
But what I would love is, so at the end of World War II, right, it's only the Americans that have the bomb. They don't have enough of them, and there was a lot of people in favour of, do you want to just preemptively nuke the absolute fuck out of the Russians? Now,
look, guys, don't tell. It's like knock door run. It's like, guys, don't tell anybody. We're just going to do this, okay?
But it kind of makes sense in a weird sense, because how long is it before the Russians are then going to get it? Mm-hmm. And would it be better for mankind? We know a war. Like, at that point, they do think a war will happen. Mm-hmm. They think it's just going to happen. It's inevitable.
Yeah.
Would it have been better off if the Cold War did get hot? Would it have been the best option for them to just nuke them? Because let's be serious, if the Russians wanted to, they could have marched the entire way through France and just kept going.
Yeah, they could have.
They couldn't. I don't know if they could have crossed the channel. Possibly, I think so, but
probably with a force behind them, they probably.
Well, the big thing is, so Russia army incredible.
Yeah.
Britain, France.
Well,
okay, Britain and America Air Force amazing.
Yeah.
And Navy
Naval
amazing.
Forces. Yeah.
They're the equalizer. Mm-hmm. So what's going to win in this situation?
Yeah.
I don't know if the Russians are going to get across. There's so many theories out there on what could have happened with the Cold War getting hot.
I don't think they would ever touch land.
No, I don't think so either. I think there's a high chance that they would have just kept nuking them, but they didn't have enough of them. They wouldn't have been able to really do that much. Yeah. It would be fascinating to see, though.
Yeah.
What way do you guys think? Would it have been, would they have started a war within 3 years after World War II ending, or would it have been maybe the Cuban Missile Crisis, or one of those other fiascos that happened all the time? Maybe like, who was it? Was it Patton or was it the other fella? They're going to scream at me in the comments, but in Korea, where he wanted to, because the Chinese were kept, like, okay, Chinese but not Chinese in heavy quotations, their idea was, okay, we're just going to nuke off the entire part of the peninsula in Korea and just make like a dead zone, which is absolutely fucking insane to think about. But it's one of those things, like, that's what the generals want to do. They wanted to cut off the peninsula, make a dead zone, make it impossible terrain, and just nuke the absolute fuck out of it. Could have happened. Would it have spun out of control? I guess we're going to end it here, but we're going to finish off with singing, "We didn't start the fire.
It was always burning since the world's been turning."
We didn't start. Look, guys, this is something very different from us. I know we're probably made fools of ourselves.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of.
I do think, this is horrible to say, but I do think we are not far away from another one. The way world tensions are.
A world war?
Yeah.
I could say.
Well, maybe not like next year, but I give or take within the next 15 years.
I think within our lifetime, possibly.
Yeah,
we're overdue. We're
overdue. Plus,
there's a lot of tensions.
There's a lot of tensions.
I don't want to say too much. It's one of those ones that's YouTube. So
and I think especially after COVID and stuff, with the way the world is in financial turmoil as well.
It's what would be the right word? It's destabilizing the world as we know it.
Yeah, I do think we won't be far from it.
We are definitely, what is it? It's supposed to be like minimum every like 80 to 90 years we get massive wars going on. Yeah. And I do feel like we're overdue one. Let's just hope it's not too bad, and let's just keep pretending like, we're way beyond that point of wars. We're far too civilized. The idea of sending off millions of people to go die
by any means, we're more uncivilized than ever before.
Well, the way I look at it is, we're completely changed since nuclear weapons. It's completely.
That's the thing. If we do go to war now, is it just going to be one massive Cold War? Because everybody and their grandmother has nukes.
I think it's only a matter of time before they're used, though. It's what's the saying? Ask a man to walk a tightrope for 5 minutes. It's possible. We've been walking a tightrope for what, 80 years. How many, can we do another 80 years? What happens whenever all the people that learned the lessons from nuclear weapons in like stuff like the Cuban Missile Crisis, whenever tensions are that hot, are we able to look at ourselves in the mirror and walk back from complete destruction?
Yeah, like we can only look back at history at, you know, what we done right and what were our mistakes.
Yeah.
But what point are our world leaders going to be?
They're going to forget the lessons
we've learned.
Yeah, which is fascinating. Like, me and Megan were both big into history. I thought this was something a bit fun, a bit more of a... I know this wasn't really much of a thread, but it was more just us talking shite. And I think I enjoyed it.
And talk shit back to us in the comments.
Yeah, I'm interested
Let us know what
in
you
this.
think.
I love alternative history. I think it's a lot of fun, and I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and we might do more like it. This is more just test the waters.
Yeah.
You let us know what you thought of it.
But as always, check out all the links down below. Hit subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get notified every time we post. And we'll see you in the next video. Bye!